Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Chair. And through you to Dr. Kochhar, it's certainly a pleasure to see you in this position. Congratulations on becoming the president of the CFIA. Having known you and know something about your background, I know that you're extremely well qualified for the position. Having said that, and to follow up somewhat on what Mr. Bailey was talking about, the Spring Economic Update announced the government's intention to amend the Canadian Food Inspection Agency Act and the Pest Control Products Act to include consideration of food security and the cost of food. So, could you please enlighten us what exactly, in practical terms, does this change mean? How will things be different? What are you going to be considering?
Thank you for the question again, Chair. Chair, the two things which I would say are, one, that it is about supporting the food affordability for Canadians without compromising health and safety of Canadians. That is an important piece for us. When we use the economic lens, that is what we are trying to achieve. Although we have been in CFIA regulations and in our regulatory stance have always considered economic impacts on that, but this amendment, which will be tabled in future legislation and will be scrutinized and studied in the parliamentary process, will actually build that as a part of our future. I have to give you one simple example. We have created amongst us a business enablement group, which is going to be assisting Canadian entrepreneurs who are looking for getting up to the federal standard of safe food for Canadians license. And we are giving white glove service and concierge service to help them get to that point, giving them an economic kind of a guidance, which is much more necessary rather than just an enforcement role.
And so I presume there will be broad consultation with stakeholders. Could you maybe elaborate on those sectors that you're particularly interested in hearing from?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, as I mentioned, this is going to be in the future legislation. And so we have a elaborate plan for consulting with the stakeholders who are from different parts of industry and touching the food safety, animal health, and plant health also. Given the fact that food is derived either from plants or animals, so food of plant origin or food of animal origin, we are actually casting a wider net to get information, get engagement, get the consultation going, and then presenting it through the studies through the parliamentary process.
And during your presentation, you mentioned regulatory modernization. This sometimes worries people that either there are going to be some sort of glitches in terms of possibly new software programs or whatever. So how exactly are you considering to make processes more efficient, more predictable, more responsive? Can you elaborate a little bit on what you're looking at?
So, Mr. Chair, that is again one of the things which we have started to put in play, which is how do we evolve with the time in terms of modernizing the way the regulations are built? As I mentioned earlier in my opening remarks, in 1997, this agency was created. We have had multiple iterations where we have increased our oversight and regulatory role has evolved. We continue to do that by making sure that we are modernizing our acts and legislation onto that. I'll give you a simple example. There has been an enhanced feed ban, which was created at the time of BSC in Canada. However, as we move to a negligible risk status, with meaning there is no risk, very low risk, I should say, to humans and to transmission of the BSC to Canadian cattle, we have now started to look at modernizing that and evolving it to allow certain specified risk material in there. Another good example is seed regulation modernization, because seed modernization is something where we have consulted extensively and looked at the legislation, which is many, many decades old, and we're trying to actually formulate those where we can bring them in line with today's modern industry standards.
So going forward, you will look at some of these perhaps outdated processes one by one systematically to ensure that they fit today's world.
Mr. Chair, that is absolutely the vision here, to look at the regulatory frame, which should fit in how we can help the Canadian enterprises and the businesses to benefit from their agri-food businesses which they have.